Actually, today we published a press release giving the main data, statistics, let's say, since September 27 by October 4, yesterday. We don't have exact data on today's strikes and their consequences, but we have initial data that there are some casualties, some, let's say, wounded among civilians. By 27 until yesterday, we recorded 19 civilian casualties, deaths. One of them was a child, 7 of them were women, 11 of them were men. Almost half of them were elderly. The geography is very different. Almost from all directions of the Republic, there are casualties. From north to south, including capital city Stepanakert. The reasons, not the reasons, the weapons of the weapons used against civilian population were also different, including UAVs and rocket systems, missiles, artillery, and bombs, aviation bombs. Among them, there are cluster bombs and cluster rockets, and I'm sure that many of you recorded and shoot such kind of examples, such kind of weapons. And you know that cluster weapons are banned by the international law. And it's very important to mention that especially in the recent days, Azerbaijan heavily used rockets against civilian infrastructures and civilian residential buildings. Almost all of them were intentional targeted strikes, and many buildings and many houses have been already damaged. Besides, we have problems with unexploited munitions, and many of them are cluster munitions. And there are dense unexploited rockets and munitions in Stepanakert, which is the densest populated area in Artsakh, in the Republic. That's why I would say that we are under serious humanitarian threat, danger for a long time. And myself, I understand that problem because when I was 6 in 1995, after the 90s war, I lost my eyesight as a result of an Azerbaijani landmine explosion. That's why I understand what kind of effects, consequences such kind of weaponries can have for children, mostly children, and for civilian population and civilian objects. Another thing that Azerbaijan used especially on the recent days, is targeted strikes and intentional strikes against vital civilian infrastructures, including electricity centers, water supplies, gas supplies, and communication. And I think you felt the effects, the consequences of those strikes because of loss of electricity, loss of communication, etc. And based on those strikes, we analyze and we conclude that they want to make everything, to do everything to make a humanitarian disaster here and push civilian population to go out, to leave the country. As a result of that, we already have a serious humanitarian crisis. It can become disaster soon if they continue the strikes to the infrastructures, vital infrastructures. They also targeted roads, highways, in order to cut down communication with the outside world, with Armenia, let's say. And you understand that in that case, we will lose our supplies also from Armenia. That's why it's also dangerous for us from humanitarian perspective. Another problem of use of banned methodology is engagement of terrorist groups. Probably you have noticed many publications by the international media and also many publications from Azerbaijan and terrorists themselves. There are some videos, some photos showing that Libyan and Syrian, some groups, mercenaries and terrorists, are engaged in this hostility by Azerbaijan and by Turkey, which is quite dangerous from humanitarian perspective and which is banned by the international law and by the UN. That's why I would say that we are under threat of genocidal acts because those groups are specialized and are intended to crimes against humanities, like they did in Syria and in Libya. And fortunately, our armed forces are able to stop such kind of threats and to resist and to protect the lives and the homes of our people. And my call and my demand to the international community is to do everything to prevent such kind of developments and use of banned methods and banned weaponries by Azerbaijan. In this regard, I would like to stress that these crimes, war crimes and crimes against humanities, are made by Azerbaijan, but it's not only the responsibility of Azerbaijan. It's the responsibility of Turkey too, because you see that militarily and politically, Turkey very openly backs Azerbaijan. Secondly, it's the responsibility of all the countries which gave and give weaponry to Azerbaijan, and those weaponries are used against civilian objects and civilian population. And thirdly, it's the responsibility of the whole international community, which is entitled by the international law to prevent humanitarian disasters and crimes against humanities. That's why all those countries, all those parties take responsibility for everything whatever have been done here and whatever is being done here by Azerbaijan. And they should react properly. They should stop talking. They should start acting. And my recent call is don't be blind. It could be symbolic call to the international community because I'm blind, but I see those crimes. But they are not blind, but they don't see those crimes. In that case, it's better to be blind physically than to be blind psychologically. My call to international human rights and political community is to not to be blind. Another problem, let me speak of that too, is that we have tens of thousands people left here, and they have serious needs here in Artsakh and in Armenia. We have tens of thousands IDPs and refugees. They have already humanitarian serious needs, and my call is to the international humanitarian community to give proper assistance, firstly to the Artsakh population, secondly to the population, to our citizens living now in the Republic of Armenia. The number of wounded people by October 4 is 80. 60 of them have serious injuries. And again, they are from different geographies. They are from both frontline settlements, towns, villages, but also from very far depth, including some towns and villages far from the front line, 80-90 kilometers. And also for the infrastructure and material losses, based on our initial assessment, we have more than 2,100 private property seriously damaged, including houses, apartments, shops, etc. We have more than 240 cars very seriously damaged or burned. We have more than 350 infrastructures and economic infrastructures and factories. All those consequences, all those damages will be more deeply checked by us, assessed by us, and we will publish more detailed statistics and analysis with certain proofs later.